The following program was produced by a community producer. The content, views, and opinions expressed are the sole responsibility of the community producer and do not reflect Malden Access Television, the City of Malden, or your cable provider. MATV welcomes your comments. Call us at 781-321-6400 or email us at access@matv.org.
Good afternoon. My name is Gregory Christenson, Mayor of the City of Malden, and I'd like to welcome you here to Malden City Hall, where today I'm going to ask my colleague and friend once again to head up a task force to look at the general upkeep of our school buildings. Greg Lucey, I think, proved his mettle during the transition report, and I can't think of a better person to head up this important task as well. Before I turn the microphone over to Councillor Lucey, I do want to just make a couple of brief statements. That is, we're very happy to report that the number of house breaks from 2 weeks ago to last week dropped significantly. From 20 to 5 is the number. So hats off to the Malden Police Department as well as the residents that have been working together to give us the information we need to counteract some of these house breaks that have been occurring across the city. The next Public Safety Awareness Forum for the Mayor's Office will be Monday, February 27th at 6 p.m. at the Oak Grove Community Center. A couple other notes: working with the Malden Patch, our next online forum will be held on Monday, Friday, February 24th at 10 a.m. So anybody that wants to log in and participate may do so. Those generally last about an hour to an hour and a half. So with that being said, for the past year on the campaign trail, I heard from many stakeholders in the Malden Public Schools concerned about the condition of our buildings. And as a former school committee member and as a former city councilor, I was there when we had the custodians report to the city for the first time in many years. And I think after 10 years or so, it's time to take another look at whether or not that's the best model to use for the general upkeep of our school buildings. So again, what I'm going to ask Councillor Lucey to do is to work with various members of our city to determine what the best practices are in keeping up this multi-million-dollar investment that we've made in our school buildings. I'd ask Councillor Lucey to deliver his report and his recommendations within 45 days to 60 days so we can possibly incorporate them into the budget process, which has just begun a couple of weeks ago. So with that being said, I'd now like to bring in Councillor Lucey once again. I think if I call him for a third time, I'm going to have to stop paying him. But for now, I want to thank him for his service, and because this is a very important task. It's one that I've heard about over and over again. So with that being said, now let me turn it over to Councillor Lucey to offer a few words.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everybody. They say life is all about timing, and actually this topic, it's good timing to take up this topic for two reasons. Number one, you have a new administration coming in, so it's a good time to look at things, how the city operates, and a good way to change things if you see. And the other piece to the puzzle is the completion of Malden High School, which really completes the complete renovation of all the school buildings. If they're not new, they're completely renovated. The state and the city has a huge amount of money invested in this, over $200 million. The issue with schools is they get wear and tear quite easily. So since I was on it, I served on the school committee for 6 years. I've also been a council for 4 years. It's always been a question or an issue how the schools kept up, they kept clean and that sort of thing. And I think you definitely see some schools are clean better than others. I think this would be a good opportunity for to set up some through the mayor's office to get a task force going. Look at see even how other cities do it. We have other schools in the city besides the Malden Public Schools. We have Malden Catholic, we have Cheverus, we have the charter school. We'll take a look at how they're doing things down there. And I think it's just a great opportunity to maybe finally put something in place that works. There's over 6,600 students now in the Malden public school system, so that number's climbing, and that much of activity in schools will tend to either wear them down or create probably dirty situations more than if they were less populated. So we have the 6,600 the students. You have over 750 staff in administration in these schools. I think we owe it to them to have clean buildings, clean and healthy buildings. So our goal, this task force will be to come up with a report and some recommendations of the best way to accomplish that. And again, for the 10 years I've served in public office, whether it be school committee or city council, it's been an ongoing issue. So I think this is a great time to look at this issue. With a new administration coming in, I give the mayor credit. One of his first of several initiatives is to look at this piece. So with that, I'd like to turn it back to the mayor.
We'll now take questions. Just some brief history, too. The custodians of the buildings were originally under the school department up until about 10 years ago, where the city took on the supervision and direction of the personnel to maintain the schools. I think we all are in agreement 10 years later that probably wasn't the best decision we made. So again, we're going to look at whether or not the current model we're operating under is the best, and if it isn't, what other possible solutions there are to move ourselves forward. I think as Councillor Lucey stated, the timing is perfect because we're just about to sign off on the $77 million renovation at Malden High School. So this is a question we should all be asking ourselves, is how to maintain that investment 20, 30 years from now. So with that being said, we'll now open it up to your questions and on any other topic you might want to discuss. Any questions? Okay.
Does this involve just keeping the schools clean, or are we talking about structural, or both?
I'd say both.
Infrastructure, it is both?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't get that, sorry.
If I could not to chime in, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Jillian Swarton, I'm from the Malden, representing the Malden Observer.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. I think the issue is definitely cleanliness, but it's also in Mayor Christenson. From years back, I remember him always questioning when we do the budget, how come we don't have more of a maintenance line item? It's always difficult to put that line item in the budget when you're struggling to keep teachers in place and police in place and other individuals. But I think this would also be a good time because, without looking at the number, I think it's around $250,000, the line item, which now as the schools get older, that is not enough money in that budget to sustain things that can break down, that need replacement. So I don't want to speak for the mayor, but I know he's been an advocate of upping that line budget as well, besides the cleanliness part.
Is that a capital plan? Do you have a capital plan?
We're working on one right now. Yeah. Part of our instructions to all the managers in the various departments across the city is to submit not just a one-year capital plan, but a 3-year. So we can start projecting, years out what our costs might be and how to actually address them, as opposed to, I think, what happens now, and it's no fault of anyone's, is we're just sort of reacting. We go year by year. So we're hoping to start looking 3-4 years out, moving forward.
Joe Cassia from Malden homepage. Not so much this year, but will snow removal in and around the schools be part of your look-see?
I think so. I think everything's on the table. One of the things that my father taught me growing up, appearance is everything. So, your first impression on any of our schools is what you see outside. And I know that's been, source of contention over the years. Whose responsibility is it? Whose should it be? And I think Councillor Lucey will help answer those questions. And then once the recommendations are made, we're going to work very diligently to try and incorporate, what we can in the upcoming budget process.
Matt Byrne, Boston.com. I know last year there were concerns at the Salemwood School about air quality, and teachers raised some issues around health, not just of the faculty but of the students. And I know that a representative from the State Board of Health spoke to the faculty and to members of the school community about air quality. Is that part of your assessment, and has there been any kind of immediate remediation since that time about a year ago?
Go
Once we start this, it's like when we did the transition. Once we got into the report, we go out and interview, we take everything in account. The issues down at Salemwood, there were some outspoken people down there last year. I think some of those issues do exist. So when we go into these buildings, it's not just the cleanliness and the custodians, it's also those other issues. The thing is, again, I have to keep on going back to those numbers. We have an obligation of over 6,600 kids and over 7,500 staff that when they go to school in the morning or when they go to work in the morning in the schools, that they're clean and healthy. So it would be all part of whatever we come up with in the end after the 60 days.
Joe from Malden homepage again. When my daughter went to BB school, I know there were issues about security and cameras working, not working. I'm presuming that's all just under the umbrella of maintenance, right?
Yeah, I would say so. Again, I think, as the council mentioned, this is another reason why he's here, is when he undertook the transition report, he went above and beyond with items like you're speaking about. So I think the same will occur on this topic. But this is a question I think all the stakeholders want answered, including the custodians themselves. At the BB school where we held the Public Safety Awareness Forum last week, one of them had stopped me and said, what's going to be the future here? Because I think they too realized that the decision that was made 10 years ago probably wasn't the most prudent one. But you live and learn, and the important thing is, we just don't say that, all right, we made that decision and therefore we can never look at it again. I think the councillor stated it perfectly. This is our one opportunity here with an administration for the first time, new administration for the first time in 16 years to kind of look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, should we be doing it, are there other ways to be doing it? And I agree with the councillor that, the parents, the families that send their students to these schools, the students themselves, they're our customers. And so one thing that we should really work diligently on is providing them an environment that's conducive to learning and, and sharing with one another. So that will be the goal. And we've already, are looking at other cities and towns to see what kind of models they have in place to help us accomplish this important goal.
If I just add a little bit when the mayor said about the decision made 10 years ago. Actually, I was on the school committee at the time, and I was in full support of that move. At the time, the late Johnny D.J. Marino was retiring as superintendent, and Mr. D was actually in charge of the custodian. So at the time, the schools were not going to replace him when he retired. So we had that problem that there was no one in charge. And at the time, Mayor Howard thought that it would be best served if the custodians went over to the city side. They have all the other people that go into the schools, the HVAC guys, the plumbers, and he thought it worked. And I'm the first to admit, I did support it, I believe it was in 2002. But given now the history of it, I probably wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, the same goes here. I was on the committee as well, and the other idea behind making the switch then was that to free up the principals to focus on the educational aspect of the schools. But what's happened now, at least what we're being told, is that, if the principal has a request, of the staff, the custodial staff, they have to first go to the city side, and then the city side relays the command or the order back to the custodian. So there's a lot of lag time in between when these requests are coming in and when they're being fulfilled. And so I think our thinking is there has to be a better way, and we're going to try and find that way in the next 45 to 60 days.
Jillian, again, so there will be an implementation plan as part of this?
That would be the hope. I mean, I think the first thing is to allow Councillor Lucey to gather up some stakeholders in the school system to determine, what are the recommendations that could be implemented that will help us moving forward. Those recommendations would then be handed over to our office, and then we would then try and incorporate them into the upcoming budget process, which begins, the new fiscal year begins July 1st. So, it's a tight window, but we think it's, an issue, once again, worth addressing. There are many issues across the city that need to be looked at, but this one in particular, because it touches, so many people in Malden, that's why it's been highlighted, and that's why Councillor Lucey has decided to accept this responsibility. Other questions?
Matt Byrne from Boston.com again. Uh, is there any stipend associated with this? I know this is the second commission you've served on, Councillor Lucey.
Is there a stipend?
Are you actually being paid for this work?
No, I'm not on the mayor's staff. What I do is I have a unique relationship with the mayor. As I said last time, it goes on more than just a professional race. It's a personal relationship. If the mayor does well, I think the city does well. I don't know whether he keeps on, if he chooses me these, because no one else would do it, or he has a lot of faith in me. I hope it's the faith in me, and I'm just hoping I can deliver for him, because, you know, it is an issue. It has been an issue for a while, and we'd just like to finally maybe get something in place that makes sense for everybody, for the people that go in those buildings, and also the people that clean the buildings.
One more follow-up. It sounds like you're 10 years later saying we made a mistake. Why not just go correct it? Why 60 days or 45 days to study a problem that's taken 10 years for you to come around to realizing is an issue?
Well, I think you touched upon it. You know, just to go back to what we did 10 years ago, then we might be in the same position 10 years from now. So I think it's worth a sort of a global outlook on what other best practices have been discovered by sister cities and towns that we might be able to utilize here. You know, we have the experience from 10 years ago, and I think it's at a point now that we knew back then that there wasn't the best model, so now it's time to really think outside the box and see what we might be able to put in place that will help us just not 10 years from now, but 20 and 30 and 40 years out.
You know, and if I could add to that also, I think when you start looking at something like this, you know, you look at more than just, you know, what the system was in place 10 years ago. You can look at that system, but you can also look at the current system, and you may find, you know, are there job descriptions, are there other things in place that, you know, will make sure that you're successful. You know, is the shifts done properly? Is it better to have more guys on at night than it is, or more people on at night than people during the day, when the kids aren't around, giving them more an opportunity to clean an empty building? So we'll be looking at a lot of different scenarios, and I know I've been into, say, an MC or a Chevrolet, you know, especially the Chevrolet. I remember going in there, and that is an old building, but you can eat off the floor in there. So whatever they're doing, it's a smaller building, and they don't have as many buildings as we have, but we certainly can look at how other people operate and how they keep their buildings clean.
Other questions? While we have a little lull, we do want to use the opportunity to remind everyone about the upcoming MBTA public hearing, which will be held here at City Hall, 200 Pleasant Street, Thursday, February 16th, from 6 to 8 p.m. Very important that people attend that hearing, or you know, email us their thoughts and suggestions on what we can do to help stave off the proposed cuts that are being suggested by the T. We're in the midst of organizing a online petition that people will be able to sign, and we'll be able to deliver to the MBTA. So far, Councillor Lucey and I are very pleased with the coordinated actions of the affected groups across the city. Mass Senior Action Council, the City Council, the Mayor's Office have been working very closely on making sure that the MBTA and state leaders know that this would devastate us. You know, people pride themselves on living here in Malden because we offer public transportation, and to take that away at the snap of a finger will really hurt us moving forward. So I want to make sure everybody knows about that hearing.
You want to send over a couple of second blurb, and I'll
Yes.
put it out?
Sure, absolutely. Other questions, thoughts, concerns? The other thing, I think back to what Matt Byrne was asking about from Boston.com, this is also, this topic today that we're talking about has been requested from, you know, the school superintendent all the way down to different PTOs across the city. So this is something that is, you know, is an interest of, again, all the stakeholders in the Malden Public Schools. So we want to do our best to respond and try and come up with, you know, best practices that we can implement going forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing Councillor Lucey's report and recommendations. I know based on his work on the transition report from a month ago, plus just serving with him over the past 10-plus years, that I know the work will be thorough, and I know there'll be useful information in there that we can use moving forward. So if there's nothing else, I want to say thank you. As always, I want to thank Malden Access Television for helping to coordinate this. We also want to thank the staff of the Mayor's office for also assisting us, Ron Cochran, Paul Hammersley. So thank you once again. We'll be around after if you have other questions. But once again, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Thank you.